The Trump administration is once again threatening war with Iran over its nuclear program, despite claiming they already obliterated that nuclear program. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. I don't know if you guys remember, but before Trump took office in 2017, we had a deal with Iran to prevent them from building a nuclear weapon, and Trump really, really hated it.
I've been doing deals for a long time. I've been making lots of wonderful deals, great deals. That's what I do. Never, ever, ever in my life have I seen any transaction so incompetently negotiated as our deal with Iran.
Your companies went bankrupt 6 times. Your list of failed businesses includes Trump Airlines, Trump Vodka, Trump Mortgage, Trump Steaks, Trump Magazine, Trump University, Trump Waters, Trump Vitamins, and Trump the Game, which is like Monopoly, but instead of a thimble or a top hat, you can play as a golf ball or a up hand. Seriously, can you imagine sitting at home and playing this with your family? Ooh, looks like I landed on community chess. Let's see. It says, uh-oh, you slept with a porn star. Pay $130,000. The point is, Trump really hated the Iran deal and immediately started messing with it, although he wasn't always super familiar with the words he was reading.
Key House and Senate leaders are drafting legislation that would amend the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act to strengthen enforcement, prevent Iran from developing an internet, this is so totally important, an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Nice save, dude. Nice save. I thought he said internet, but then he said this is really important. Did you really think the teleprompter said the words an internet missile? I mean, what's an internet missile anyway? A text to the family group chat that says dad cheated on mom? Now that's a nuke. Seriously, who is the staffer who met President Trump and thought, oh, he'll be able to say intercontinental ballistic missile, no problem? That is one optimistic young man. They're developing an condo where the is Kevin. Seriously, dude, if you can't say the words intercontinental ballistic missile, then just don't put them in the script. You know, use acronyms like WMD, which stands for Weapons of Mass Destruction, or GSP, which stands for Giant Sky Penis. Now, just FYI, no one uses that one yet, but I am trying to make it a thing. The point is, stick to words you can pronounce. It's like how my writers know not to put the word pundit in a script because I pronounce it with a second N at the end, like pundit, which, as we all know, is what you say when someone makes a bad pun. You know, oh no, you pundit. Are we happy? Are we happy we made me say that today? So Trump scrapped a deal we already had in place to stop Iran from building a bomb. Fast forward to 2025, when he bombed Iran to stop them from building a bomb.
Top officials there at the Pentagon describing what they're calling Operation Midnight Hammer, the U.S. airstrikes on Iran.
We obliterated Iran's nuclear capacity in Operation Midnight Hammer. That was Operation Midnight Hammer, achieving total obliteration of the Iran nuclear potential capability, totally obliterated. The United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer.
Please stop saying Operation Midnight Hammer. Sounds like one of those movies you and your friends would try to watch on scrambled Cinemax at a sleepover at 2 a.m. I think I see part of a boob. I do remember my first apartment in New York. The walls were so thin, I could always tell when my neighbors were doing an Operation Midnight Hammer. And I would yell, hey, people are trying to sleep. And they'd say, be quiet or we're going to nuke you. And I'd say, how are you going to nuke me? And they'd yell, your dad is in here with us. We haven't Operation Midnight Hammered at home for a long time. We're just so tired. Iran's nuclear program was completely and totally obliterated. They made it clear, which is why he got very upset when leaks quickly came out that suggested maybe it was only semi-obliterated.
Sources telling CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program.
As of right now, it does not appear that they ended or obliterated Iran's nuclear program.
U.S. officials are telling multiple outlets that according to a new classified report by the Defense Intelligence Agency, those strikes only set Iran's nuclear program back by about 6 months.
You did all that for 6 months? Are you sure it wasn't Operation Midnight Love Tap? 6 months. 6 months is not good. If you called your landlord to come fix the leak in your roof and he said it should hold for another 6 months and you said, but I have 4 years left on my lease, and then he said, well, then that's plenty of time to buy an umbrella. And then you said, could you at least talk to the neighbors for me? And he said, why? And you said, because they're boning my dad. Now, those leaks enraged the White House, so they sent out former morning show host Pete Hegseth, who, much like Iran's nuclear program, always seems semi-obliterated, and Hegseth ripped into the media for daring to question the success of the mission.
Because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment. You want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated. Choose your word.
Giant sky penis. I know it's 3 words, but you said I could choose. But you heard him, you fake news haters. You just want Trump to fail so badly you won't admit Operation Midnight Hammer was a raging, throbbing, pulsing success. Iran's nuclear program was obliterated. Boom. Done. Moving on to the next.
President Trump's special envoy warning Iran could be just a week away now from having industrial-grade bomb-making material, as President Trump says he is considering military action against the regime.
They're probably a week away from having industrial-grade bomb-making material. And that's really dangerous.
A week away? What happened to destroyed, defeated, and obliterated? I thought Operation Midnight Hammer was a rock-hard success. It's looking pretty limp right now. Sounds like we're about to get Operation Midnight Hammer 2, pounding some Cialis. So they were either lying then or they're lying now. Can someone clear this up? How about the vice president?
Can you explain to the American people why the United States would need to strike Iran to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon if the United States obliterated their enrichment program last summer?
Well, I'm not going to make any news on Iran today.
No one's asking you to make news, but could you, explain it? That answer only makes us more suspicious. It's like if your spouse says, can you explain why you were out all night if you told me you'd be at work? And you say, I'm not going to make any news on that. Your spouse would say, well, I have news. You're on the lawn. Now, that answer didn't work, so Republicans are switching to a new tack, claiming Iran is just rebuilding the program Trump obliterated. And to make that argument, they sent out one of their top-notch communicators, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, who's so good with words, he has not one, but 2 first names. Take it away, Markwayne.
They're obviously trying to rebuild it.
Right,
We're not going to let that happen.
If we obliterated it, we being the United States last summer, then why are you worried about it right now?
Because they're rebuilding it, and you can see them rebuilding it.
But it was
not
obliterated.
Enriching. Well, but it doesn't mean you can't rebuild. I mean, people have car accidents and obliterate their bones and their legs, and yet they can still put, metal back in them and walk again.
Nothing is a bigger bummer than when someone throws a into a sentence when you have no idea what they're talking about. Like, in your life, have you heard anyone say they or someone they knew obliterated their bones and then had metal put in so they could walk again? Seriously, I rarely give medical advice on the show, but if you ever go to a doctor for a leg problem and the doctor says, well, bad news, you obliterated your bones. Good news, we can put some metal in so you can walk again. You need to hop out of there as fast as you can. So we obliterated their program, but that doesn't mean they can't rebuild it. So where does that leave us? Like, we have to bomb them once a year forever? Should we just add it to the list? Remember, every February, we got to change the batteries in the smoke detectors. We got to get the tires rotated, and we got to bomb the out of Iran. Their argument is incoherent because they lied. They scrapped the Iran nuclear deal for one reason. Obama did it. Now they're negotiating to strike a new deal to do the same thing as the old deal and threatening to obliterate a nuclear program they said they already obliterated. It makes no sense. These guys talk like they've been hit on the head with a
midnight hammer.
This has been a closer look.